The school levies on ballots across Washington were approved in the most recent special elections. Thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Derek Dice.
And I'm Kirsten O'Connor. But a majority of school bonds that ran in Washington failed, leaving people to wonder what other funding sources school districts could lean on. Derek Strom is in studio to better explain how education is funded.
Derek, Kirsten, we've gotten plenty of comments recently about the money schools receive from lottery, cannabis, and timber revenue, but that money makes up a much smaller portion of a school's budget than you might think. OSPI estimates schools only get about 2% of their revenue from these sources. Even though the Washington Lottery generates nearly $1 billion in revenue each year, less than 20% of that goes back into education. That added up to $180 million from the lottery in 2025, but even when combined with cannabis and timber funding, it only makes up a small percentage of an average school's total funding. Much more of that is from local levies, which make up about 15%. The majority of the funding comes from the state, but State Superintendent Chris Reichdahl says recent budget proposals could reduce how much schools are getting.
This budget and prior budgets have cut our state's funding per student when we adjust for inflation by $500 a kid over the last 6 or 7 years. So not only are we not investing more as we should, we're actually going the wrong direction.
With the prospect of budget cuts from the state, many districts are hopeful they can secure funding from local taxpayers through a bond or levy. If schools are hoping to make any improvements to their buildings, they have to convince voters to approve a bond, which has become challenging for many districts. Bonds typically have a much longer term than a levy, usually 10 to 25 years, and they require a 60% supermajority to pass. Washington education group WISE says less than 40% of school bonds were approved across the state in last week's election, but there is a bill in the Senate that would start the process of getting rid of that supermajority for school bonds. And that bill is still in a Senate committee, but if it passes, voters would still need to approve a referendum to change the state's constitution. WISE believes the supermajority rule currently in place is outdated. In studio, Derek Strom, 4 News Now.